There we go.
Perfect. All right. Well, this is our annual August conversation about advanced placement at now, not just the high school, now it's at the high school and the junior high. We do have one course at the junior high, and that information is included in these numbers as well. So it's a very similar format than what I've presented the last handful of years. I always include that 2014, 2015 information on this first slide. That was kind of the beginning of when we implemented the honors diploma. Was in 2015. We had a big jump in that year when it comes to just the number of kids that took courses. So I always include that just from the historical perspective. But as you can see down last year, about 90% of our kids that started in January in an AP course took an AP exam. We had 538 graduates last year, so our AP index is estimated right now to be a 0.94, which is a higher number than we've had the last couple of years, so that's a good thing. On this next slide, I show you how many exams were taken by the different grade levels of students. So again, kind of a snapshot from the last 3 years. But you can see that, last year our ninth graders, they only had one opportunity to take an AP exam because there's only one course in the junior high for AP. So 71 ninth graders took the AP Human Geography exam. So that's the exams by grade level. You can see how many kids took one exam, two exams, up to we had one senior that took 5 exams last year. The trend is kind of holding true. If you kind of look across that 11th grade year, every year that's where we have the highest number of students taking AP exams, and the most exams that are taken is our 11th graders. But our 12th graders, they still do a good job, and still quite a them are committed to that college career readiness component and staying in that AP track.
So am I reading this right, that there was a jump from 21 to 71 exams?
Yes.
That's pretty
Huge.
significant.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a significant jump in the number of ninth grade students that took an AP exam.
What do you think the reason behind that is? Just getting more information out there and pushing them?
I think it was a number of things. I think it was exposure. I think it was opportunity. I think there could have been some ninth grade students that might have been intimidated in the past to take an AP class that has 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students in it. In this case, it was only ninth grade kids. Mm-hmm. So that might have been something that maybe eased some anxieties for some students to give it a shot. So this is the slide I'm typically the most proud of, and I once again am this year. I did include the 2023 and 2024 numbers up kind of above those top 2 rows. You can kind of see the very far right column. That is our passing rate. So in this third row, that's the 2025 school year. Anything highlighted in green means that our passing rate for that exam was higher than both the Iowa passing rate, which is the next to bottom row in this table, and then the global passing rate, which is the bottom row. Anything that is red means that we were not higher in either one of those 2 Iowa or global categories, and yellow means we were higher in one but not the other. But again,
CSP?
Computer science principles. If you look at the far right column, though, 85.5% of all exams taken at the high school and the junior high were passed, compared to the Iowa average of 69.7. So that's a significantly higher passing rate than the state of Iowa.
What score is considered passing?
A 3.
A 3? Okay.
Yeah, so a 3 is universally considered passing. When it comes to getting college credit, it all depends on where you go to school. Some schools accept 3s for college credit. Some of them count them as just like an elective credit. Some of them actually count them as a required class credit. In some colleges, universities, you might have to get a 4 or 5. But universally, it's kind of accepted that if you get a 3, it's considered passing.
Is that computer science pretty tough?
Yes, it's tough. It's new. There's not a whole lot of kids that take it. It's one of our newest courses. I think we've had it for like 3-ish years. We've had a kind of a evolution of teachers that have taught it over the time. So, yeah, it's obviously the one that's not the green.
Well, yeah, it just was kind of interesting that in 23 it was 64, and then 66, and then we took a dive down. Like it just like maybe get harder, or is it? something changing the curriculum pieces of it.
Well, and it's also that just, you know, you've got 8 total kids that took it, right? So if 2 more kids would have passed, then you would have bumped up to 63% or whatever that would have been, right? So when you've got small numbers of total students taking the exam, 1 student has a pretty big impact on the percentage. But yes, it is significantly lower than it had been the previous 2 years.
It's amazing to me that we have 2 areas that 100% of our students passed, the statistics and physics. That's, I mean, the overall numbers are pretty impressive, but that just kind of,
Right.
that's super impressive.
And I will point out, you know, in the physics exam, you know, we've had 75 and 77% in the last 2 years prior to that passing. So this was a big jump in our passing rate in our physics course. You look 2 years previous in our AP Lang course, the very first column, it was 4.7%, and now it's 95.7. So there's been several really big jumps across the areas. And obviously there's some that have kind of maintained the same and others that are a little bit up and down. So this is something that I go through with our AP teachers every year. Obviously, they set goals. Our goals is for 100% of the students that sign up for the class to take the class, and then 100% of those kids to stay in the class, and 100% of those kids to take the exam, and 100% to pass. So it's about as high a lofty goals as you can set. So this is kind of our historical passing rate. Again, I've kept that 2014, 2015, just for historical perspective. You know, prior to that big jump in 2015 where we had a lot of exams taken, our passing rate was 75. That was a really high year, 2014. Prior to 2014, I think 75% might have been our highest passing rate. And then if you notice down since like 2022, which is kind of that post-COVID, that COVID year, 2022 exams were online. It was just really challenging. But in that 2022 and beyond, we've been in the 80% each of the last 4 years, which is outstanding. You can also see on the far right column the number of perfect exams. A perfect is a 5. So we've had, you know, close to 90 or in the 90s the last 4 years. This next slide is about AP scholars. The definitions of those different levels are down below. This is based off graduating seniors. So if you would have been a junior last year, and if you would have scored a 3 or higher on 3 or more exams, then technically you are an AP scholar as a junior, but I don't put it in the table here. So this is just for the graduating class of 2025. So 54 of, I think it was the 538, I think that was the number that we had graduate, were AP scholars. So just over about 10% of our graduates from last year earned an AP scholar level. This is kind of a cumulative effect. So when students take, you know, exams every year, you know, by the time they graduate, we had 70 students in the class of 2025 that took 1 exam, 26 students at very bottom row that took 2 exams. 1 student took 9 exams, or 2 students, excuse me, took 9 exams across their career. So you can kind of see just over 31% of the graduates took an exam, and of the entire, you know, population of students in that class, their passing rate across all 4 years was 87.2%, which again is that's unbelievable. That's really, really tremendous. And then this last slide is just what we're looking at this upcoming year. So again, the 25-26 year starts on Monday. When I put this presentation together, which was second week in August, we had 628 kids that were enrolled in AP courses, which is the highest number we had going back to that 14-15 school year. So each year we've kind of been around that 500, 550. Last year we were just over 600. This upcoming year we're going to be just a little bit higher than that. A big contributor to that is in the 9th grade. So that big jump from 21 to 71 has really helped with these overall numbers. You can see that this upcoming year 126 students are going to take human geography. I think it's approximately 100-ish in the junior high and like 1, maybe 2 sections in the high school. So the majority of that 126 is 9th grade students. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
Well, I have several things to say. First of all, thank you for your support of these AP exams. I've proctored now, I think, for 6 years, and I've seen a lot of things change, and I really appreciate the support you give the AP coordinator who administers these tests and organizes these tests and puts a lot of work way before May starts for the 3-week period that we take the tests. And we use 4 different sites. As you know, this past spring is the first time we've went mainly online with Chromebooks. Before that, it was all paper and pencil. Big thank you to Mark back there. He attended more exams, I think, than I did, and I worked every day. But Joel Kahn and myself and Mark and some other people from the tech department, and we're in 4 different locations, 2 different churches, the fairgrounds, and of course, some kids at the high school. And so it's a lot of it was going on at the same time. It's a little bit, it's hard to, the anxiety that happens when you get to a spot and the Wi-Fi is not working, and we're doing an online course that's going to start in 10 minutes, and you got over 100 kids, and probably bringing back nightmares to Mark back there, but half the kids can't get logged on because, it's just quite a feat to pull off even taking the test. And
Well, there was a national
yeah, it wasn't-
issue with the
yeah,
AP
it wasn't
psychology
Southeast Polk
exam.
by
It wasn't
ourselves.
just us.
We couldn't make our own rules. We had to, when it's the national test that starts at this time,
Right.
you either are ready for it or you're not.
Well,
And-
and to tell a quick story
Yeah.
about Matt Parker, our AP
Yeah.
psychology teacher, he has
Yeah.
graded the exam for a number of years.
Yeah.
So he has a network across the country. So he's on kind of the AP psychology teacher Facebook page as the exam is getting ready to start, and he's hearing things from across the
Yeah.
country, and people are saying, hey, we just got in, hold on.
Yes.
So I think he was trying to communicate with the people that were proctoring the exams to not let our kids leave,
Right.
and they didn't. But several schools
Yeah.
from across the country did let their kids leave,
Right, right.
which means they had to come and do makeup exams,
Yeah.
and it was just a mess, so.
But I'm telling you, thank you, because it was very smooth. Really, the only issue that I noticed is some of the kids would bring their Chromebooks and they weren't charged. And we had to run a lot of extension cords and charge their computers or their Chromebooks while they're at break or whatever. But if that was our biggest problem, that was fixable, so.
Right.
So thank you for all your support.
Absolutely. Our goal this year is to try to reduce the number of sites that we're using.
Yeah.
If there are some opportunities in this building, that would be great. I think right now, again, thank you to Lutheran Church of the Cross. We've used their site several times. The State Fairgrounds has provided sites. We do use some special testing at the high school, but you're right, it is
Yeah.
a coordinating struggle all over the place.
Yep.
Any other questions from anyone?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I saw another school board member from another district bragging about their AP pass rates on social media yesterday, so I can't wait to go and brag about ours. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, item C, enrollment update. Mr. Horton.
Hello. I'm just guessing this doesn't look a whole lot different than it did, in our last meeting. Although I would like to see a lot more green on the front. Pretty limited in terms of numbers of classes that are full. As you can tell, there are just 3, 5, 7, 8, 9 of them. 8, excuse me. 8 that are completely full. We averaged 22 in our elementary classrooms, which is a fantastic number. Currently, we're at plus 37 students, which is significantly fewer than a week ago, which has me scratching my head going, what happened there? But I think if we're looking for, a culprit, you could look at what's going on at the, with the junior high and how their numbers are dropping precipitously. And then also there's a drop at 12th grade as well, 581 as opposed to 618 a year ago. But, beyond that, it looks really good. Our class sizes look wonderful. And I can entertain any questions you might have.
This is the best that Clay's looked in a long time, right?
Yes, very much so. Usually there are multiple,
Yeah.
green, or maybe in the last few years I've used blue.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
mean,
why I wanted to
A lot of
switch it
times
up, but I
they're
did.
almost every grade level. This is,
Yeah.
Well,
I know
they've
that-
added
yeah.
classes though. How many classes do they have this year to 5?
I think they added just one in second grade, I think it was. I think it was second grade.
so this balancing act, do you and Lacey or whoever, when a new student comes to you, do you, rather than looking at where they live, do you put them where we have space? Is that why this is looking so good?
No, not necessarily. I think we
Yeah.
look at where they live for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
Try to keep kids in neighborhood schools as much as we can, just look for spaces
Yeah.
for them. But if it does come through Lacey, it's probably open enrollment.
Yeah.
And we have a conversation that goes right to, okay, where do we have the fewest number of kindergarten or first
Right.
grade or whatever grade level we're talking about.
Yep.
But I think, honestly, looking way back to when the last time we did a boundary adjustment, it's still hanging in there. So that part's great.
Great,
Great.
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, item D, SIP Year 2 Task Force Implementation. Dr. Latham.
All right, there we go. Good evening, Board. As Dr. Holupnik said, it's hard to believe that we are getting ready to start a new school year, but we are, and it's a very exciting time of the year as we get ready for the students to join us. I wanted to come tonight and share an update related to our task force work. We shared that last year as we were working, and I just wanted to do a quick review and mostly share where we are going as we enter into year 2. So the task forces were designed to organize teacher leadership around our district improvement goals. So you can see in our goal areas, we have our same 4 goal areas: early literacy, academic core, which includes English language arts, math, and science, college and career readiness, and climate and culture, which includes both attendance and student engagement. So those 4 goal areas stay the same, but underneath the priorities have adjusted based on the feedback that we got from teachers last spring. So again, not last spring, but the spring before, we were very fortunate to have a national expert, Dr. Luis Cruz, in our district for a day. He happened to be in between, he had a day in between 2 appearances and didn't want to fly home, so we said, oh, you can come to Southeast Polk for the day. And so he worked with us, with the principals, the teacher leaders, the teaching and learning team across the day. And when he left, he said, you have a wonderful teacher leadership structure. See what that looks like in using that for school improvement. Because he reminded us that teachers are more influential to other teachers than administrators. So tap into that teacher leadership. So as a district action, we asked all of our teacher leaders, and we put our coaches and model teachers together, were asked to participate on one task force. And that's over 90 teacher leaders that we had participating. So again, these are the task forces last year, and you can see they line up exactly with our district improvement goals. The one in the middle there is emergent bilinguals. That's a new growing group for us at Southeast Polk. It really touches all of the other task force areas, but we wanted to make sure teachers were feeling confident in the scaffolds and strategies to support the emergent bilinguals. And it really is a collective inquiry using the data to see how we can support student learning. So last year in year one, that was really focused on learning, really digging in with the groups to see what we could learn about our area. And what you'll see in front of you is a summary of their learning in the task force report. So you will see each of the task force areas that we studied, and then you will see the members of the task force, and then each task force divided up in different areas depending on what they were studying. So I know when we were looking at attendance, we looked at using data, evidence-based practices, and family partnerships. So depending on which task force you were in, recommendations were made in those key areas. So we have this task force report that is available, and also we have a one-pager that I included that just has a summary of the evidence-based practices that support that area. So those resources will be available to us as we move into year two. The task force report, we know teams will be able to use this at the school level. When they're looking at systems level, they'll be able to use it at the team level as part of their PLC, and also at the classroom level when they're implementing their practices. So our focus on year two is implementation. So teacher leaders will remain on the same task force they were on. They'll stay there for 3 years. Year one was learning, year two is implementation, and year three will be evaluating impact. Seeing what type of impact this had on student learning. And as you can see from the spring report that we shared, we're already seeing a very positive impact as a result of the work of our teacher leaders. So the work this year is really going to focus on that knowing and doing gap. Is one thing to understand the strategies and have a good understanding, but how do we use our teacher leadership and our skills to be able to bridge that gap between knowing and doing, and that will be the focus of our work. So as I said, it is really tied to our school improvement process. In our school improvement process, as you hear the teams when they will come here in the fall, they identify their goals. They identify which evidence-based strategies and practices they'll plug in to meet those goals, and then their action steps, how they're going to get there. So where this work comes in is really in the practices and the actions. So in that practices, how will we get there? What strategies, what are the high-impact strategies that will help with this goal? They can go right here. So if they have a goal on early literacy, they would go to the work of the Early Literacy Task Force, and they have identified the most impactful practices that will support early literacy. If they see a gap in their emergent bilingual data, they can go to that task force, and not only can they see what the practices are, but they can see who the teacher leaders are who can lead and support that work. The second place is the third step of the action plan, and that is in the actions. So based on that goal, how can the teacher leaders support the action steps? So we will really be looking to the teacher leaders as we put those goals and actions into place to support implementation of those practices and to support that at their PLC level and at their building level. Last year, the facilitators of each group met pretty frequently with the groups to help with the learning. This year we'll meet periodically to share what implementation looks like, to problem solve together, and see how we can support each other in moving from that knowing to doing gap. So we are looking forward to it. We got off to a good start. I saw more of an impact on results than I thought we might in year one, and that was really exciting. And that momentum will take us into year two, and the teacher leaders are very excited to engage in the work. So any questions or feedback related to our task force process?
Well, and this is only year two, and obviously since, the board just made some decisions about changing our rotations of how will you be making changes to those task force, adding more people to get different ideas and things later as you move forward?
Yes, so we did ask the same teachers to remain on the task force they were on. Having said that, we have 20 new people on the task forces because we had some model teachers who became bills or they became coaches, and so we hired new model teachers as a result of that. We had some people retire, et cetera. So we do have 20 new model teachers, and we will be distributing them across the task force to build that capacity.
I think it's really, really neat that you've seen results already and you're just moving into the doing phase. You know, you're
Right.
in the knowing, the learning phase. Before even moving into that implementation, you're already seeing results. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we really said the focus was on the knowing phase this year. Some of the teacher leaders are so excited by what they were learning, they took that back to their teams and started their implementation last year. And so it does give us good momentum. I would be remiss, Stephanie Laird did a lot of work with Dr. Cruz and helped support the task forces. And she and I were accepted to present at the SAI School Administrators of Iowa, and we presented this concept to administrators 2 weeks ago, last week, yesterday. It's the days blur in pre-service, but we had a great opportunity to present to other administrators and get their feedback and actually think about what this looks like in a larger school, a medium-sized school, or a smaller school, and how to really, like I said, we have a great leadership structure here at Southeast Polk Teacher Leaders, and being able to tap into that in more of an organized way.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, that was our final item.
Motion to adjourn?
Nobody else wants to go?
Second.